Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. So, it is roughly 3 hours 45 until the league start. It's going to be the Legion League. Spoilers? No, I'm just kidding. So, I want to take this opportunity to start today with the day 1 Legion start project. So, it's going to be a series throughout the next couple of days where I bring my daily progression, my plans, my highlights, build progression in general, how I'm doing things, and so on, kind of video series, right? So the plan is to bring a video every single day before stream. So the basic idea behind this is I'm going to, like today, since it's going to be day 1 basically, although the league will only be 2 hours long, so there's not something fancy you can expect from today in that 2 hours, besides like getting to act 3 or 4 or something. So that's why I want to take this opportunity and talk about my league starter. Right, so then I will talk about how or what am I going to do today, what I expect today, or at least on the stream today, until I go to bed. When I get up, I'm going to instantly record the new update on day 2, basically, talking about the stream before. Like, what was the plans, what did I reach, and so on. And I'm going to talk about what's the plan for today. And then I will start streaming. I'm going to do whatever I want to, or at least like the progression table, right? And then we're going to do this until Shaper is dead and I have the full Atlas clear, okay? So I'm going to talk about every single day, best drops that I had, how did I get some currency, any lucky 6 links, 5 links, whatever, and so on, right? This is the idea, this is the plan. I did this last league already, and yeah, the community actually liked it, so I decided to make it again. Like, why not? So, today is actually day 1, as I said, but it's only like 2 hours in today, so basically there's not a lot that I can talk about. So, aim for today is, or at least for today's stream, should probably be like Act 6 and then I go to bed. Sounds a little bit weird, but I did not sleep very well from yesterday to today. I compare it like to Christmas. Like when you're a kid, you know, and you think about Christmas, you think about all the presents. Presents, right? Presents, yeah. Then you just can't sleep, right? You're like, God, what will I get tomorrow? What will Santa Claus, whatever shit, what will I get? Will I get my new bicycle? Blah, 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 you know? It's kind of the same, just I'm getting a little bit older, and now I'm waiting for those kind of things, like a new league start. And yeah, I tried to go to bed like 3 a.m. like I do usually, but I just could not fall asleep until like, I think 9 in the morning. And my cat woke me up at like 10 or 11, so I slept roughly like 3 or 4 hours. And I had a rough plan today with the Ancient Orb gambling and now this video, so maybe I can make a small nap before the league starts. We're gonna see about that. Plan is to start streaming at about 21:30, so like half an hour, 45 minutes before the start of the league. So that's a small side information. Let's talk about my league starter and what I plan to do, and also the path of building. And it's going to be a Bleed 2-handed RT Cyclone Slayer. Like old school, really old school playstyle. Remember back in the days, my first, I think it was the first video guide I ever did in Path of Exile in terms of YouTube. That was with Aphex Crimson Cyclone. And I had the idea to basically try to rebuild this character. So there is a lot of things that I have to take into account and want to talk about. Why Slayer, right? Why Cyclone? Why 2-hand? Why RT? And so on. So basically, let's start about the Ascendancies, okay? So basically we have Slayer, that could be good, the Gladiator, and the Berserk, the reworked one. So, why did I finally pick the Slayer? It has actually a couple of reasons. Most of them is the Ascendancy point itself, right? If I take a look at Gladiator in the perspective of, in the first place, a 2-hand RT Cycloner, I have two beautiful bleed notes that I really love to play, or would like to play, but the rest is so... okay? You know what I mean, right? So in terms of Slayer, there is only like probably the Masterful form that is not like, wow, I really want to have that. But starting from Brutal Favor, either Bane of Legends, which is a free Onslaught, which is not Onslaught, so you can get Onslaught on top of that, with a 20% more damage against unique enemies, Overwhelm with the crit note, and there is just, you know, there is Ascendancies where I say like, okay, this and that is great, the rest, I don't really know. Here it's like, I want to have this, that, that. I cannot just have everything, right? So this is basically the plan over here. So that's why I ditched the Gladiator, just because in the first stage, let's talk about that. In the first stage, I want to go two-hand RT because it's cheap, right? You don't have to worry about a hit chance. You don't need to worry about crit multi, all those... I would say expensive stuff on the gear. This is something I want to do later on. So I want to start with a two-hand RT because you can build it with literally nothing. And once I have currency going, I want to transform the Bleed Slayer into a crit elemental damage Slayer, right? And probably dual wielding. And then I will just basically skip probably Bane of Legends probably and get the base crit notes and then respec the RT, take the other crit notes, and so on. So this is the plan, right? I want to build it in a little bit in a futuristic way, right? So I want to start with a baseline that I can transform into something better later on. When I take here the Gladiator with the bleed notes, if I go with the crit version, I have here a super good, fancy Overwhelm new note that we got in this patch, and Gladiator doesn't really offer that much, right? So then we would have probably a Scion with a Slayer, Juggernaut mix and so on. But Scion is probably the worst league start because you need at least 3 laps to have a new starting area. You need 4 laps to pick your second Ascendancy. And in the start of the league, this is probably a poor choice. If you have it as a second character when you like made the Atlas and found all your trials and so on with your first character, then definitely. But as a first character, I would definitely not recommend the Scion. So then we have the new Berserk, and here is the same thing. If I go two-hand RT in the start, I don't really need the crit notes here. RT makes me a non-crit build, so I cannot crit. So all these notes here are pretty much useless. I could run Aspect of Carnage, which just is, yeah, the same. I would call it shit as it was always. I have more damage, but I get more damage, right? So it's not bad, but it's not the best either. And then we have Crave of Slaughter. This is something I could take. And later on, I could probably, if I plan to go the crit way later on, I could take Flawless Savagery and the Blitz. The thing is, I don't think that you will ever have Blitz on 20 stacks or keep it up on 20 stacks, right? Because the more Blitz stacks you get, the less crit chance you have. And so you're basically gonna lose your charges faster. So basically you have this, like, there is your crit. The more Blitz stacks you get, the lower the crit is. And if you lose the stacks again, you higher a crit. So I think like you can probably stay at like 10 to 15 stacks, but you will probably not be able to permanently sustain the 20 stacks as a crit build. So you just... it doesn't really feel too good for me, right? And seeing this as a perspective, I like to have, when I start mapping, I want to have 100% power from start to end, right? With Rage, building up Rage, losing Rage over time, building up Blitz, as the Gladiator, getting those Challenger rewards, losing them later on, and so on. So, I don't know, I just like Slayer, I like a lot of the Slayer notes, and that's why I finally said, screw Gladiator and the Berserk, although they got reworked, it's super good now, but I just love the Overleech and so on. I know it's going to, it had nerfs and so on, but I still think it's going to be really good. So that's the decision why I go for Slayer. Okay, in terms of the skill tree, we're gonna make it a little bit different. I'm just going to create a new one. Don't save. Create a new one so I can show you how my pathing will look like and then explanation why I pick certain nodes, okay? So basically we are a bleed character. That means I think 70% of our initial hit that we do once we hit with Cyclone with anything else, I mean probably Cyclone is not the best option for this, but if you hit let's say 1,000 or 100, 70% of that is going to be a bleed damage, right? Over 5 seconds. It means that, yeah, 700 damage, obviously. That's why I think it's going to be more valuable to usually you would go attack speed and go down here. This should be your first pathing, right? But I just think it's only about a little bit attack speed. Cyclone is getting to get a huge attack speed buff. Means it usually was 50%, now it's 300%. So I don't think it's going to be hard in any case to get like 10 attacks per second, right? That's why I think like if we higher our base damage a little bit so the bleeds tick a little bit higher. So this is the base thing here. Then I think it's going to be two-hand in the start, so I'm going to take the two-hand nodes, same as this decision. We're not going to take attack speed, I'm going to take the melee damage nodes. Then we're gonna take Golem's Blood as the first couple of levels, I think. Then we have the decision to make. I think the best thing is to instantly rush the Blood Magic. So, why Blood Magic? It's more about the Mortal Conviction and how good it will be like, okay? So usually, I don't think that you have a mana problem at all, right? Because Cyclone now has like a mana cost of 2, even if you run it on a 6-link, I think it's not going to be a big mana issue. But as a pure melee physical build, what auras you have? You know, if you play with like Brutality support that you cannot do elemental damage, Herald of Ash, useless. Hatred, this is something you would use on a physical elemental build, like scaling Physis Extra, right? You're gonna get shaped weapons with Physis Extra Cold, then you have Herald of Ash with Physis Extra Fire, Hatred, Physis Extra Cold, probably Shaped Amulet, and so on, right? But with Brutality, you are limited on what you get on physical, that being the new Pride gem. And then we have like Herald of Purity, for example, as a curse, maybe vulnerability. So there's not a lot of scale and physical damage compared to elemental damage, right? So what this node does is you can only have one non-Banner aura on you from your skills. Non-Banner auras reserve no mana. So this makes me wonder, okay, one aura I can have, but this one is for free. So I can use Empower Gem. I can just pump this aura up as max as possible. Doesn't matter if it reserves 400% mana, it will not cost any mana, right? But what about if you use an In-Presence Amulet? Let me put this one over here, In-Presence Amulet, so I can show you what I mean. It's the Elder Amulet. Here we have the In-Presence that says 100%, oh no, wait, not this one, it's, where is it? Fire resistance, lightning, armor. This one is it. So, this one says, vulnerability has 100% reduced mana reservation, so it's for free, right? If I use that one with blasphemy support, it's an aura, but it's also a curse. So here is the question. Can you use a vulnerability coming from In-Presence if you have Mortal Conviction and Pride running, right? So, in one hand, no you can't, it's an aura, because Blasphemy makes the curse to an aura, but it also says aura on you, right? On you does mean for me, you have a buff. You are affected by something. Sorry. So you're affected by something. Pride, for example, you get this more melee physical, it's an aura, like anger, like wrath, these are all auras, right? If you have Blasphemy, it makes the curse to an aura, but it's still a curse, so you are not affected by it, just all enemies around the circle, right? So questionable if this works, and if this works, what about an aura bot with generosity support? Let's say you have like this Victorious, or let's keep it simple. You have a 6-link chest, for example, you run generosity and then 5 auras, for example, and blood and Mortal Conviction. All of these auras will not reserve any mana, but all of these auras does not affect you, so they are not on you. So this is just like a question, will it work or not? If it doesn't work, if you can only use Pride, I'm not sure if I would actually take Blood Magic in that case, because we know Cyclone will not use a lot of mana, and then you have 2 10% nodes, which is nice, but the old one had another 15% node, so that's missing over here. So basically you save 4 points, lose 10% life, but maybe like all these small nodes, you can easily get those 20% life with 4 skill points over here, right? So, okay, let's keep on going. The next thing I would do is instantly go for RT. So I have 100% hit chance, which is quite nice, right? So I don't have to worry about this one. I'm going to hit all the time, easy clap. And here, it's questionable. I don't really like to go for weapon type specific stuff early on. Why? Because it's basically just a matter of what you find, right? So if I find a good sword, I'm gonna use it. If I find a good mace, I'm gonna use it, right? So if I'm basically early on getting the slaughter and the cleaving, so the axe nodes, I'm bound to axes. So if I don't get a good axe early on, all these kill points would be wasted. So this is something I would like to go later on. So what I can do here now is probably take the bleed nodes here, maybe take the Fortify skill nodes because I want to run Fortify on Cyclone. Then you can use Wrecking Ball because this is a two-handed specific and not an axe specific type of thing. Then you could probably, yeah, here is questionable what you can do. I don't think that the all max resistance that I have in the later stages are going to be so useful while leveling, right? It's good, it's fair enough if you have your resistance capped, so this is something I will do later. So probably we can take this one here now, so with a two-hand melee node, some more life, blah blah blah. Then we can take up here for the Scion Life cluster, right? This is pretty simple to get. If you're missing resistance, you can still take Sentinel and the Diamond Skin early on. This is something you can respec later on. I would skip the Jewel slot over here and this one on the bottom side and on the left side, because how many jewels will you have while leveling? Pretty much none, right? So that's why I don't really skill them early on. But if we keep on going, then we have, we could probably start taking more bleed nodes. Crimson Dance is something I would use later on mapping and not for leveling, because you're not gonna have a lot of attack speed, so you hardly gonna stack up these Crimson Dance stacks, right? So this would be the base thing here, is level 54 with all the skill nodes, the skill points from the quests. Then we could start. If we're gonna start with the first laps probably, and we're gonna take the Overleech, right? This is this one. Life Leech is not removed. So Endless Hunger and Brittle Fervor will be my first two Ascendancy nodes. If I have the Overleech, then I can start using Vitality Void and the Hematophagy. Good thing, take the right side. You used to take the left node because this one was the max leech. Now you have it on the right side with the max leech. And then probably at the later stage, you're gonna use a Vile Pact. I would not really consider taking it early on because you have way too low leech to really compensate for that one, right? Okay, so if we have this one, there is only here some more damage nodes if you're leveling, and then we can finally, at the latest stages, take Slaughter and Cleaving, and at the end take the All Resistance, and we're somewhere 83. This is something you can definitely reach on the second day of mapping. Then we have here some more life nodes, and then here, important, there is another Charging Offensive that's for channeling skills. Cyclone is a channeling skill, so we're gonna take this one as well, and probably take the life nodes over here. So here at this point, it's just about survivability. Would you rather take some more life nodes or damage nodes, depending on your playstyle, right? So then we have this jewel slot, this jewel slot for the later stages to fill up, same as this one. Here we have Barbarism for more life, and here we are on level 100. Yeah, something like this. So if you have the resistance, you can skip these 5 points again, and then you can keep on going with damage, with life, whatever you plan to, right? So there's a lot of options that you can take or consider taking. Probably you have to use the Hard Knocks and the Wisdom of Glade, because as a melee class, you will have a hard time getting intelligence at all, right? So here, without just one single point, you have access to both intelligence gems. Then we have Crimson Dance. 2 points missing, I don't know, did I miss a jewel slot maybe or something? I don't think there is something too mandatory that I just forgot about, but shit! Okay, back. Don't save. Take this one. What did I miss? What did I miss? No idea on the first side. But doesn't really matter. So this is my POB, this is something I will use. So the problem that we have on early build path of buildings, right? It's not about damage, right? I have here some really shit gear. I mean, obviously I have a disfavor equipped, which is a good axe, and you're not gonna have access to that one, same as the Chaos Heart. But the rest is just a Devotus, Hemophilia glows for bleed explosions, the boots, rings, just like life resistance, life resistance, life resistance, the wretch. No jewel slots in here, so the damage will ramp up pretty high, so forget about this one. The same thing that I want to talk about, I think that bleed is going to do a lot of damage. So why do I think so? First of all, bleed is not going to be calculated correctly. That means if I use Crimson Dance here, I split my damage into half. Why is that? Because Crimson Dance says my bleeding does 50% less damage, but I can have 8 stacks. Means a normal bleed compared to 2 Crimson Dance, so both of those bleedings are reduced to half, so 2 stacks of Crimson Dance is the same value as a normal bleeding, but now you have 6 more stacks. So basically the reduced number you can take multiplied by 8, and there is one weird thing that I came across over here. So if we're gonna take it back to this level, a physical hit decides, like the number of the physical hit will decide on how high your bleeding is, right? So here are all physical damage nodes that will scale my physical damage. So I have a higher hit and the bleeding is higher, right? So if I activate these now, you see that my average damage and the total DPS will rise. But what about the bleed damage? Bleed damage is still at the same spot if I have those or not. That tells me that throughout the whole skill tree with all the damage nodes, bleed is calculated wrong, and I think with Crimson Dance, 8 stacks, with this build here, with the Hemophilia and the Aterius Disfavor plus the bleed nodes, I have a 105% chance to bleed, so it's up all the time as soon as I hit something. I think it's going to be a massive damage, and I hope it's going to be great. As I said, this is the current guideline, this is the kind of tree that I want to build up for the league start. And then we're gonna see throughout the progress what will I find, and then probably at some point when I say I have like 30-40 exalts, I will replace all of these bleed nodes here and there and take the crit nodes. We're gonna rescale the RT and take crit nodes over here. Here is a new crit cluster that's pretty cool as well. And then we're gonna ramp up our damage, but it needs different gearing, right? So in terms of skills, this is questionable. I know I'm going to use one like Leap Slam, for example. I don't really need Blood Magic or Culling Strike, because Slayer gives me Culling Strike and I get Blood Magic from my skill tree. Cyclone is still questionable what gems I will use. My prediction, since we still have the old skills here, right? My prediction is going to be Infused Channeling, since Cyclone is now a channeling support, or at least like a channeling tag. So this is defensive and offensive. Fortify has a major buff here. This is the old version, so Fortify will now give me a lot of more damage and also bleeding damage. Then followed by the Brutality support, that should be quite a lot. And then Bloodlust doesn't make sense just because I want to do the bleeding, and if I use Bloodlust, I'm doing more damage against bleeding enemies, but if I cannot do bleed, I need a totem or something that inflicts the bleeding, but I don't want to be focused on that. Bloodlust is something you can use on your War Chief totem, for example. So then we have damage and full life probably, and maim or melee fizz or something like that. It's questionable, but this will probably be my falling from the start on. Once we have an updated PUB with all the new gem informations, I'm gonna recalculate everything and make a good setup out of that. Because the new one, I think Pride is not even in here, so there is a lot of stuff missing, like the Pride is missing, the vulnerability is missing, I don't have, my War Chief is missing, right? So there is a lot of stuff that I will edit, or at least like add to the build that's not in this one. Here it's strictly about this image here, for the skill tree and the idea what I have to make this build possible, okay? So, in terms of the skill tree, as I said, first Endless Hunger, then Brutal Fervor, then Headsman, then Bane of Legends, because it's going to be map-oriented in the start. Once I get the currency, I'm probably gonna remove these here and take the Overwhelm, because the base crit is just insanely good. So that's it for now. League starts in 3 hours 20 minutes. I need to get this video online here, and yeah. Probably, as I said, I'm going to start streaming like 45 minutes or so before league start, and then we're gonna see how far I can get tonight, and then I will make an update video tomorrow of what we achieved and what not. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm just searching for the last notes that I screwed up again. Ah, now it's good, now it's good, save. Okay, Path of Building link is in the description below, so yeah. Feel free to join on the stream later, Twitch TV/mbXtreme, and yeah, have a wonderful league start, and always, or at least not forget, have fun in the league. It's not always about racing and trying to get as rich as possible. As long as you have a build and friends that you can play with, you will have a lot more fun than just, yeah, trying to be the best and then probably, yeah, don't be the best or anything like that. So thanks for tuning in, thanks for watching, and see you later or tomorrow on a new video.